Definitely a step up from Full Moon, that's for sure. This might have been the shortest wait we've ever had in between 2 episodes for this show. Not even a month feels like a once-in-a-lifetime type of deal. Blitzo ended up doing a lot more apologizing on his little apology tour than I thought he would, albeit not really meaning much of any of it at first, only really caring about Stolas' approval this time around. Doing these acts more so as a way to prove himself to Stolas rather than feeling genuinely sorry for any of these other people he screwed over in the past. But by the end, coming to terms with the idea that he does have to just change for the better. Granted, while I do feel bad for Stolas in some ways still, and man, every time this guy sings it really does do something to me, I'm still in the camp of him also needing to take some kind of responsibility with everything that's went on between these two. It's not fair for all of the blame to fall onto Blitz in my opinion. Either way, it does feel good to see these guys have gotten to talk way more this time around compared to Full Moon, even if a whole lot didn't get resolved when it came to their specific relationship yet. Okay, episode breakdown time. Woohoo! Wanted to let you guys know that this video is brought to you guys by my Patreon page and my other channel, Weedman. Weedman is a channel I've had for a bit now that I use as another creative outlet for myself to talk about video games, mostly Nintendo ones like Mario, Pokemon, or Zelda, and discuss various topics about said games, whether it be lore or ranking style videos. The Patreon is still pretty new, but it's got 2 tiers right now with perks like being able to see certain videos early, sneak peeks through thumbnails, or shoutouts in a video. I would like to open a Discord at some point too. Huge thanks to my gold tier patrons BFP4, Lunar, Izzytorium, Draconis, and London Morse. You guys' support really means the world to me. So this episode started off in a way I did kind of expect, that being Blitz trying to talk to Stolas at first but still failing miserably to do so. It would have been way too easy for these guys to make up after one more try at a conversation, let alone by the end of this episode, so I'm already very glad this episode didn't do that. At the start of this, Blitz is kind of doing what he was trying to do last time to get Stolas in a good mood, that being just make everything about sex again in a desperate attempt to bring things back to the way they once were. But of course, Stolas isn't having any of this. He's fully aware things can never go back to the old times no matter how hard Blitz tries. We also learn of this anti-Blitz bash that Stolas was invited to by Verosika now that the ship has sailed until further notice. Part of me kind of wishes she had a little bit more screen time this episode. It was cool to see her at all, but maybe a little bit more screen time with Blitz would have been nice too. Things continue to get heated when Stolas calls out Blitz for acting like Stryker with the way he thinks royals do nothing but look down upon the lower class. And while that obviously isn't true in Stolas' case, the power dynamic was still there at one point and something that will hopefully be addressed at some point in the future on Stolas' behalf. Probably not until Sinsmiss or Mastermind if anything, but yeah. This little interaction also reveals how Blitz has known about Stryker's desire to kill Stolas since the Blood Moon but never actually told him, but Stolas now finds out. This was something I never really thought would ever be brought up as an issue between these two characters because it didn't really feel like that big of a priority. Stella was the one who sent him, so it felt like they wanted us to be more focused on that aspect to make the hatred between Stella and Stolas feel that much stronger, but it's still cool how it was brought up here to add more to the Stolas dynamic. Stolas then calls out Blitz for never apologizing to anyone a single time in his life, which is what kickstarts Blitz to go on his tour of the most hollow apologies imaginable. All in all, this was a very entertaining back and forth to watch between these two characters, arguably one of the best we've gotten in the entire series in my opinion. The amount of denial Blitz is in is tough to watch in the best ways possible.
I spent the entirety of this morning listening to love ballads. And that was still the gayest thing I've heard all day!
For the next 2 minutes or so, we get a bit of scene jumping of Blitz revisiting a lot of old characters from previous episodes to make his phony apologies to. First being Marcia, who's now living in hell with Miss Mayberry of all people. Wonder what got them to reconcile down there. You know, either way, good for them if they're happy. Also, side note, I love how Blitz had Moxie at the top of this list, but wasn't in this episode at all. Not sure if this was just meant to be a joke or Easter egg, or if they're actually saving that for something later. The following characters include the Dorks agents, the bouncer from Aussies, the Lululand Apple mascot, the dead corpses of other Dorks agents, Brandon Ragers, and the Cherubs. Actually, everyone except the Cherubs. Last but not least was to go to Verosika's anti-Blitz party, which is being held on Earth's surface due to it being Halloween, so demons can just go up there without getting caught. Kinda funny how Season 2 seems like it's gonna be doing 2 Halloween-type specials this year, but I can't really knock the crew for that because it's top 3 holidays. Stolas tries to enjoy himself at the party as much as possible, with Verosika trying to get him in the mood, yet nothing's really sticking yet, perhaps because of his last experience partying on Earth.
Hail the Demon Prince, Stolas.
I was told there would be cake.
That was one of my favorite jokes of the season, I think. While it does seem petty on the surface for Verosika to be throwing a party like this, she is trying to genuinely help these people. Although none of the previous breakups are really explained in detail, it's very clear that Blitz had very big impacts on these people's lives to the point where they're still having trouble dealing with it. So she not only throws the party to bash on Blitz, but also as a way for these lost souls to find some extra comfort in each other's company and cope with what's happened. It's essentially one big Misery Loves Company party when you think about it. Not gonna lie, my stupid ass thought this imp dressed up as a cat was Millie at first glance. I might need to update my prescription, boys. It's also kind of a miracle Blitz was able to make it through the party for a bit without getting completely jumped by people before using that tablecloth to cover himself. And pretty messed up that Dennis, that one imp from Beelzebub's party, got blamed for it. Why is this guy getting shit on so much now? It seems like he's a decent dude. After a bit of scoping around the party, Blitz finds Stolas outside about to sing a song in front of everyone, a song about his troubled past with Blitz. One fittingly dubbed Mother Effer. I'm scared to say the full thing now because I don't want to get demonetized. From what's been said around social media so far, it feels like the general perception on the song is a bit mixed, which I can sort of see why. It's one of those songs, while it is pretty catchy in my opinion, it's a bit over repetitive with the lyrics despite the message doing a good job at getting its point across. It sounds like I'm being nitpicky myself here, but I did enjoy the song quite a bit. Definitely want to give props to Bryce on his vocal range here because I know I'm not the only one that felt like he sounded noticeably different singing this song compared to his previous Hell of a Boss songs. It's a good kind of different though, at least for me. Kind of tapping into more of a rock and roll style, whereas all the previous songs were sung at, slower speeds with more melodramatic tones, if that makes sense. Incredible visuals too, the whole mirror sequence with Stolas looking at those images of Blitz looking away from him in discomfort, somewhat blaming himself for not realizing that Blitz was having issues in the past, only to be fully validated in his feelings by Verosika and Vortex singing backup on the song. Vortex is such a homie, by the way. This guy has had very little interactions with Blitz. I mean, hell, the last time these guys saw each other, it was at B's party, and the vibes between them seemed okay. But Vortex is just being a good friend, showing support to those he clearly cares about more than he cares about Blitz. Speaking of Blitz, man, seeing this guy just completely breaking down harder the more Stolas sang really tugged on my heartstrings. Like, the visual storytelling here was great. It just kept cutting back to Blitz getting, more and more uncomfortable and sad and feeling bad about everything. But once the song ends, Blitz tries to talk to Stolas one more time in hopes of reaching some kind of understanding, telling him how all of those apologies he'd done meant nothing, but he wants the one for Stolas to actually mean something. This is what I love about these two characters so much. They're so similar, yet quite different in ways. Both of them have felt very unwanted, specifically by parental figures throughout their entire childhood, never having proper love lives either. Stolas obviously being forced into a loveless arranged marriage, while Blitz, we don't really know the specifics with yet as to why he thinks relationships are dumb, though I have seen some speculate it's because he wasn't able to be with Fizz before the fire or something. Despite these similar upbringings and bad experiences with relationships, Stolas continues to crave even the smallest possibility of having something real, while Blitz just thinks there's no point. Though slowly but surely through these interactions, Blitz is starting to come around a bit in that regard. Granted, at that moment, he's still struggling to find the right words because he hasn't truly looked within himself quite yet. By the end of this last conversation for the episode, another imp shows up to ask Stolas to dance, to which Blitz gives a wave of approval for likely feeling like that Stolas needs to actually have a good time for once this night. So now Blitz and Verosika start talking, which goes about the way you would expect at first, but eventually he's able to make a genuine attempt at an apology for her. While Blitz did just come there initially to find Stolas, seeing the environment he's essentially created himself because people cared so much about what he thought of them was the exact kind of reality check he needed. It's not like this was some small get-together either. There had to have been at least 100 people at this party. Even saying he doesn't want to be this same person forever. Right after this, Verosika points out how Stolas is having a blast with that one bearded imp who asked him to dance. So good, in fact, they end up making out a bit. Blitz even getting visibly jealous about this. So Stolas seems to be making an actual attempt at moving on, at least for now. Granted, because of how this encounter was handled, this random imp probably has no interest in pursuing Stolas in the long term, the imp seeing the whole ordeal as a standard one-night stand. But Stolas' judgment's probably a little bit clouded because of how drunk he is, which in turn could break Stolas' mental state even more down the line, unless they decide to throw us an insane curveball where Stolas and Blitz's views on relationships are swapped for the foreseeable future because of this interaction. Doubt that'll happen, to be honest. I just like talking out of my rear sometimes. Verosika calms Blitz down a bit by giving him some advice about wanting to change, starting with just trying to be happy for Stolas having a good time, even if he doesn't like it. I also love the symbolism of Verosika giving Blitz a piece of cake with a heart on it. The old Tin Man needs to start thinking with his heart instead of his meat for once. Oh look, even the Imp Carney is selling I Hate Blitz merch. Very solid episode overall. If I had to compare, I'd say I liked this episode more than the Circus, but not as much as Oops, X's and O's, or the Mammon episode, just when it comes to Season 2 ones. This feels like some of the most character growth we've gotten for Blitz in a single episode, besides in maybe Oops. Once again, do wish we could have gotten a more proper conclusion between Blitz and Verosika. The way that interaction ended makes makes it seem like we may not get any more serious interactions between them anytime soon. I understand it's not a priority when Stolas is right there. Perhaps it's partially my fault because I did kind of have this preconceived set of events where Blitz had to make proper amends with a set amount of people before getting back to Stolas. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't happen like that. I'm still very much looking forward to seeing what the crew actually has in store for us. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comments below, what you liked, didn't like, or how you'd rate it in comparison to other Season 2 episodes or the series as a whole. I'd love to know your thoughts. Don't be a stranger to leaving a like down below and subscribing for more content like this in the future, but for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.